Hello and welcome. Today's class offers a delicious blend of strength and stretch, with the first half focusing more on strengthening exercises and the second half really bringing it down and just stretching into our bodies. So a few props will be really handy here. I think a strap or a resistance band, both will work equally well. And a blanket, a couple of blocks. None of them are absolutely necessary, but blocks are a great way to help your home practice. All right, let's get started. So take your strap or your resistance band and make a loop in the strap if you don't have one already. If you have a resistance band, you can either just step right into it or tie it at the distance that works well for you. Grab the tail of your strap if you've got that in your hand, and we're just going to place it right below the knees. There's like some little bony parts that are just below the knees, and that's where you want to feel contact with the strap. Feet hip width distance apart so that your knees are pretty much tracking between your second and third toes. And then we'll start just with some pelvic tilt. So bring your hands to your knees, and on your exhale, tuck your tailbone, round your back, drop your head. Inhale, bring your tailbone out behind you, moving through the spine. Your chest comes through your shoulders. And then just going back and forth like that. Inhaling, broadening between chest, exhale, rounding, stretching through the backs of the shoulder blades, pulling out on the strap as you do this. So after your next exhale, find a neutral position of the spine. So somewhere between the two extremes that you were just at. So you're not tucking your tailbone under as we go into the next exercise. If you need to take a little break now before we move on, go ahead. And then we'll all meet in this sitting down position. And with the strap in your hands, we're going to take baby steps over to the other side of your mat. So just tiny little steps, sitting down as much as you can in the chair that isn't there. And as you're doing this, really imagine that there's two boards on either side of you that are holding you together. Try to send the work right into your glutes. And remembering not to tuck your tailbone as you do this. Breathing. Tiny little steps. And then when you get back to where you started, go ahead and release the strap from under your legs. Let your arms fall to your sides. Take a breath into Tadasana. And then we'll move down onto the floor. So now we're going to take the same loop and place it over our elbows, so at the bottom of our upper arm. And you'll probably, if you have a loop in your strap, need to adjust here because your hips are not the same width as your shoulders. So I need to loosen mine up a little bit. If you have just one of those resistance bands that's just a circle, then that will adjust itself for you. All right, and then lining up the crease of your wrist with the front of your shoulder, begin to walk your, important thing. Let's go ahead and just put our blanket here for some extra padding under the knees. Even if you have a nice cushy mat like this, it's just really great to protect our knees. Okay, back to where we were. So now the front of the wrist crease lined up with the front of the shoulder. And then tuck your tailbone, walk back, and then you can just stay here down on your knees, and we're going to alternate tapping one shoulder and then the other. So right shoulder, right hand, left shoulder, left hand, right shoulder. Just going back and forth like this. And here it's okay to tuck your tailbone under to help engage your belly, or you can keep that neutral position of the spine. But just don't stick your bum out. Your belly is definitely engaged here. If you need more, tuck under your toes, push back through your heels, and you can do this in a high plank position. But if you do come up to high plank, just be mindful that you're not rocking your body weight back and forth in order to tap your shoulder. So if you find that you're doing that, then please come back down onto your knees. This is great just the way it is. All right, and then when the last few get pretty challenging, go ahead and sit back, take a breath. You can leave the strap where it is for now. Great, and then we'll come into a forearm plank. So bring your forearms down. And again, walking your knees back until you feel your belly muscles engage. And then you can just stay right here on your knees. This is a great place to be. Or you can push back, tuck your toes under, push back through your heels and come up. But wherever you are, be mindful of not pushing out through the front of your belly. So your belly organs are drawing in and down into the basin of your pelvis. Your shoulders are wrapping around you like wings. You're really pressing hard into your forearms. Inhale, breathe into the sides of your ribs so that you're not increasing the round in the upper back. Breathe. And just staying here as long as you can maintain the integrity of the posture. So if you feel like you're sinking down through the shoulder blades or the low back, that's your body's indication to walk yourself back and rest. And now we can get rid of the strap for the moment, and we'll come down onto our backs. So the blanket can either be used under your head if that feels comfortable to you, or you can just scoot it out of the way for a moment and grab one of your blocks. We'll come down onto the back. We'll give our shoulders a rest for a moment. Take your block on its lowest setting and slide it underneath your sacrum, that flat bony part at the base of just above your tailbone. So not on your low back. And then walking your shoulders under, we're going to alternate, bringing right knee in toward the chest. Inhale, lower. Exhale, left knee in. Inhale, lower. So if you're just resting completely on the back, you could probably do this all day. So I want you to imagine, have your heels close to your seat as possible, and imagine that this block is hot lava, and that even if you're not lifting away, you want to imagine that you do not want to be putting your entire body weight onto that block. And then you'll just continue alternating. Exhale, knee comes in. Inhale, lower. Like you're moving through wet cement, nice and slowly. Really push down into the front of the heel of that standing foot that's on the ground. Notice if you're holding tension in your arms. See if you can release around the muscles of your face, your jaw, so that there's not any gripping. Send the work where the work needs to go. Breathe, nice and slow. And then whenever you feel like the last 3 or so are getting pretty challenging, go ahead and just take a rest on your block. And we'll all eventually meet there. Enjoy this supported bridge position for a few breaths. And then lift your seat, remove the block, spread your shoulder blades back out onto the mat. Bring the block in between your thighs. Usually the narrow way is appropriate for many of us, but you might want to turn it to the wider way. So hip width distance apart with your feet, and then rock back and forth, just like we did at the beginning of the class before the monster walks, just rocking the pelvis forward and back, and then find a neutral position of the spine. So you can maybe slide like one hand underneath the small of your back. And then really squeeze the block hard. Draw your belly organs in and down. And at the end of your next exhale, hover your feet just an inch above the mat. Notice if you're curling your knees up and pressing your low back into the mat, or if you're pressing out through the front of the belly and arching your back. And try to maintain that natural curve of your low spine without pushing through the front of the belly. Breathing here. Those corset-like muscles that wrap around your torso are hugging to the midline. Breathe into your side ribs. And if you feel like you're starting to lose the integrity of the posture at any time, go ahead and rest. You can always come back up. Continue to squeeze the block hard, like you want to smash it into a million pieces. And then go ahead and rest. Remove the block. Maybe bring the feet wide and windshield wiper them a couple of times. And then roll onto one side, and we're going to come up into a side plank. So back into the shoulders. Check to see that your elbow is underneath your shoulder and that it's not too far out in front of you. You can leave your knees down for this. And then also being mindful that your top hip is not rolling back over the bottom hip. So keep the hips stacked. Press down into your forearm, plug your shoulder blade onto your back, and then inhale the breath. Exhale, feel your belly muscles engage, and then lift. Like there's a sling right underneath you that's just effortlessly lifting you up toward the ceiling. Breathing here. If you want more, you can, of course, straighten the legs and come onto the blade of your foot. Breathing, but just find what works for you. Always choosing to favor a posture where you can maintain the integrity for a little bit of time rather than pushing yourself beyond where your body wants to go today. And then come on down, lift yourself up, and we'll go right into the other side. So now coming down onto the opposite forearm, knees bent. The top arm can be used for support here. Check the alignment of your elbow underneath your shoulder. Plug that shoulder onto your back. Exhale, lift your hips up. So your hand can be on the ground. It can be on your hip. It can be up in the air, whatever you choose. Find the version of the pose that works for you today. And really just lifting your hips up high, being mindful of not rolling back on this side as well. Breathe. Really stay strong in the arms. Try and distribute all that work evenly in the underside of your body. And then exhale. Come on down. Okay, we're almost done with the strength work. So let's grab our blanket once more for underneath our knees and the blocks. And we're going to come into this tabletop position with the blocks underneath our hands. You can take a cat-cow here if you like. And then step your left foot forward with your knee directly over your heel. Walk your blocks out if you need to. And then you can stay right here for this low lunge, or you can tuck your back toes under, push back straight through the heel to straighten your back leg. And we're melting our pelvis down toward the mat. So there's this kind of a downward energy, but we're resisting that with the front of the thigh of our back leg by lifting that up toward the ceiling, this rooting and reaching. So we're not just like hanging here into the joints. That back leg is really strong and active. The glutes are active, your front quad is working, and then try to lighten up on the blocks. So having all your weight into the blocks will certainly make this easier. Find what works for you. And then lower the back knee down, untuck your toes. And then we'll walk the blocks back, drawing your toes toward the ceiling, finding the length in your back. Scissoring the left hip back behind you and really favoring the height and the hinging action at the hips rather than just rounding your back to try to bring your head toward your toes. So working towards finding that natural curve of your low back, even here. I feel quite a bit up high like this, even more than if I just bend over my front leg. All right, and then walk the heel of the leg in front of you over across the midline of your body, and then drop the pinky toe side of that foot toward the floor, continuing to move your toes in the direction of your head. So now you're probably feeling a stretch all along the outside of that front leg. Breathe into it. This is an area that we don't get to very often. All right, and then walk your heel back so that it's in front of your hip. And then bring your blocks forward. You can use a block here if you would like, but otherwise you're going to bring your hands to the mat. Maybe walk that front foot out a little and externally rotate the toes. And then here we're just going to come into a quad stretch. So if you have the mobility today, you can just reach back and come into a quad stretch this way. If not, consider grabbing your strap, and you can use this. You can put that loop around the top of your foot, and then you have a little bit more room to move here. But again, not sinking down into your hips completely. Resist that downward motion with the top of your back leg. Breathing here, finding the stretch that's satisfying for you. And then release that foot. Bring the left knee or whatever leg is in front to meet the right, and then we'll switch into the other side. So finding your blocks. Bring your opposite leg forward. And then it's okay for your knee to come in front of your heel, actually, if that feels better to you, but try not to keep it behind your heel as you tuck under the toes of your left foot and come up into this high lunge. Keeping the length of your back, light on the blocks as you melt your pelvis down toward the floor, the space directly in between your legs, and then resist that with the thigh of your back leg drawing toward the ceiling, spiraling the inner thigh in the direction of the ceiling. Breathe. Supporting your neck so that you're not hanging in your head. And then lower that knee down. Walk the blocks back. Straighten into your front leg, curling your toes up towards your head. Find the length. So give yourself as much height on those blocks as you need. If you have more than 2 blocks, you can even stack them so that you can come up even higher. Experiment and find what works for you. Scissoring that right hip back now, or the hip of the leg that's in front of you. Breathing. And crossing the heel of the right foot forward or in front of your left, and dropping the pinky toe side, the blade of your foot toward the mat as you continue to lengthen. I really love this stretch. Okay, and then bring your heel back to where it was. Walk your blocks forward, and we'll come into the quad stretch. So walking the front foot over to the right, opening up, externally rotating. You can use a block under the opposite hand if that feels more supportive to you, and then coming into a quad stretch here. So that gives you a little bit more height. And just twist open toward the leg that's in front. Breathe. We stretch into our hamstrings very often, but sometimes our quads get a bit neglected. All right, and then releasing that foot back, drawing your left knee to meet the right, and then coming into a tabletop. Breathing here, maybe take a couple of cat-cows if it feels good. All right, and I'm going to turn this direction so that you can see what I'm doing, but we'll stay in that tabletop if you're already there. And now we're going to draw our left leg out. Actually, for you looking at me, it would be the right. And then walk your hands forward and just come into this inner thigh stretch with your hands out in front. I hope you can see me. I think my hands might be a little bit out of the camera's view right now. Drawing back through your hips, trying to really press down so that the entire foot that's extended is on the floor. And then walking yourself back. Inhale, coming up, and then a side stretch. So bringing your hand to the extended leg, inhaling the opposite arm up and over. Finding a satisfying stretch here in between all the muscles, in between the ribs, your intercostal muscles. And then just tip this over to the other side. Inhale that top arm up and over, continuing to ground that standing foot. And then inhale, come on up. I'll switch right into the other side. Extending the opposite foot back, coming into that inner thigh stretch to start. Reaching your arms forward. Scooch back here a little bit. Drawing your hips back. Pressing the foot into the floor. You can rest your forehead down on the ground if you like. And then walk your hands up. Inhale into an upright position. Hand extends. Inhale, walking your hand down your leg as the opposite reaches up and over. Breath by breath, little by little, Not overdoing anything. And then opposite side, hand down. Sending the breath into whatever part feels maybe a little sticky. And then inhale, coming on up. Bring your knee down, and then I'm going to fold my blanket back over so it's a little smaller now. Come to a seat on the blanket, and we'll just come into a reverse tabletop here, and I'll show you from the side. So just a stretch for the front body and our shoulders. Inhale, lift your hips up high, squeeze the shoulder blades together, and then making a cradle for your neck so that your shoulder blades are helping to support you. Lift up. And then coming on down, head comes up last. We'll get into a stretch for the outer hips now. So extend your legs out in front of you and have your hands now pointing, your fingertips are pointing away from you. And then cross your left ankle over the top of the right knee and begin to draw your right foot towards you, lifting up through your chest so that you feel a stretch through the outer left hip. Just breathing here, trying not to round into your low back, moving your pubic bone forward and down. All right, switching sides, walk your foot back out, just reversing that the way that you came in. Now crossing your right ankle over your left knee, draw your left foot in towards you, and then press into your hands to lift your chest, finding the stretch on the outside of your right leg now. Breathe. And then coming out of that, uncross the legs. All right, and then we will get the blanket up here by our head. We're going to come down into a reclined position in just a moment, but maybe let's get a stretch through the front body now, through our belly. So coming down, extending your legs out behind you, letting your feet go as wide as it feels comfortable. And then either on your forearms or bringing your hands on either side of your chest. Inhale, drag your chest through your arms, and inhale, press up into a cobra pose. So you can come down on your forearms like this. You can even walk your hands forward. Embrace the back bend in your low back. If it feels like it's too much, then come down to a point where it feels better in your low back. We don't want to ever power through pain in yoga, or probably in life, right? Everything becomes a life lesson in yoga. All right, so now bring the blocks so that you have them handy. And we'll just take a simple twist here. So find your head on top of that blanket and then draw your knees in towards your chest and then a simple twist. So your knees go in one direction and your opposite arm reaches out in the other. And here is where you can use one of the blocks as a support under your hand if it feels like it's too much to have your arm on the ground, just find a twist that you enjoy. And then roll back onto your back. You can probably see it better on this side. Knees draw in, and then move them to the other side. So this is what you can do with your block for a bit of a support. Really just letting go. And then roll back onto your back. We're coming into our final resting position. So if you would like a blanket to cover you, feels really good here, maybe even an eye mask for the eyes so that you block out the light. But I'll just show you here. So we're going to tip the blocks, use these blocks for a reclined Supta Baddha Konasana. But notice how I'm not putting the block flat down with the edge going into my thigh. I'm tipping it at an angle here so that it feels really comfortable on the outside of my leg. You're centering yourself. Releasing any tension in your jaw with each exhalation. Letting your tongue fall away from the roof of your mouth. Eyes sinking deeply into their sockets. Lots of space between your body and your arms. If it feels better to you to just extend your legs out, please do so. Maybe put something underneath your knees. And I encourage you to stay here as long as you possibly can. And when you're ready to come out, release the blocks, draw your knees together, roll to one side. Take several breaths on your side, breathing into the skin of your back. And use your arms to push yourself up. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I hope you enjoyed that combo of strengthening and stretching, and I hope to see you again soon. Namaste.